super fucking cute, and you play like a murderer, and you just fucking destroy them. And it's like, it's a similar idea. And no one bought it. It was
kind of like that.
It was a budget title when it came out, but it had a little charm, I guess, and it's in that kind of way. Except it had game design that was, decent.
Oh, I can't even tell you because I haven't bought it. I'm
Game.
fairly certain I bought it just to say I have it at this point.
Well,
but
you need the sequel, Bear in Paradise.
So
that's a real game.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
It might have been downloadable only, but it is a sequel.
Wow. So
yeah.
Hi, we're live.
Oh, hi everybody.
God,
I didn't realize.
Will you ever catch on?
Well, it's like, first of all, it's not exactly 7, so we're like a minute early.
Right.
So you lied to me.
We're giving them early entertainment.
I'm going to let you all at home decide, even though no one will ever tell me. Glasses off, or my face looks like this, and it's horrible. Glasses on, or I look really fucking nerdy, and thus, like, ruin gamer cred. Which I guess I can't ruin more than we have, but, like, just whatever you prefer, I guess.
How would that ruin gamer cred?
I feel like there's a stigma attached to gamers. I don't know if you've noticed. There's a lot of nerds that like nerdy things.
Yeah, but I don't think it's because they're wearing glasses. I don't think that's what's causing
That's
this.
an aspect.
That's
some of them.
It's a factor.
It's like the neck beard. It doesn't determine the entire thing, but the community exists where there are neckbeard people.
Are you saying that you don't want to become a neckbeard? Is that what's going on here?
Literally, earlier I was saying I think it'd be funny if I shaved the rest of my face but the neck. Just for that. Just for a conversation starter,
Just
But with the glasses, I think it'd be too much because I rarely see the two combined. It happens, but it's more rare.
That would be like the way that you would just start the conversation with people. Just be like, check me out.
Yeah. Do you have any Szechuan sauce? Let's start with that. And then if they work at McDonald's,
oh no,
poor person.
That ends the date.
How did you feel that you couldn't get the Szechuan sauce?
I wasn't really looking for it.
Okay.
So I know, like, I know it was a parody. Somebody I have on Facebook said it. But they said that they couldn't get the Szechuan sauce with their nuggies, is what they said. And my skin literally ripped off my arms and ran away.
Here's my thing, and this is the reason why I'm going to give it a lot of negativity. More than the obvious, how dare they. First of all, I'm going to shit on McDonald's.
Yes, Bo, this is working.
Isn't it great? I do think it's unfair that, like, McDonald's let that happen to their workers. Like they had like a 1-day deal, and they didn't warn the people that were working that there were nut jobs that are going to stand on the table and yell out
and be just dumb.
Dub dub dub
and all that.
Yeah.
I even saw it to a point where someone was blaming McDonald's by saying they should have, like, known this was going to happen. They should have been prepared. How could they have known anything like that was going to happen?
The only reason I'm mad at McDonald's is because I do know someone that did go. He didn't go there to do that, but he had gone for it, and they only got the posters. They didn't get any sauce whatsoever, and that just seems like, man, if you're doing a promotion, you fucked up. Having said that, I think it's not McDonald's rep that is now the butt of every possible joke. Yeah. Poor show. The show didn't do anything. People are just stupid.
Yes, I think that's the best way to put it. People are stupid.
They could go to the grocery store and buy some.
And if anybody's wondering what game I was talking about a moment ago when I said I'm pretty sure I bought it just to have it.
Naughty Bear.
Naughty Bear. So we'll get it out of the glow of the light here.
From the creators of Wet, a game I like even though I know it's not good.
I think it's still in the glow of the light. Is it better? Yeah, it's better this way. Here we go. Naughty Bear.
Naughty Bear.
He's naughty.
I need to replay Wet, is what that makes me want to do. I love that you got a European copy.
No, it's not a European copy. That is a repro of the original cover.
I don't know what's worse. That someone makes a reproductive version of Naughty Bear?
Well,
Who
the game
decided
is-
to make a market out of like remaking and reselling Naughty Bear?
Okay, the game itself is not a repro. That's the real thing. The cover got destroyed, so they just printed out like, let's get a cover online. Here we
Okay,
go.
I was
and then,
about to say.
No,
this
no, no.
isn't fucking Chrono Trigger. This
no,
isn't
this is
Earthbound.
this is not retro repro kind of thing.
You think
'cause-
Naughty Bear will ever be retro? You think there's gonna be a day where like kids will look at it and be like, Naughty Bear, that's the game
Yeah,
that
I could-
defined my childhood.
I could see it now where they're like, I want the game where the teddy bear kills all of his friends for the birthday party. For no reason. For no reason. That's the big thing with that game.
There's a reason he wasn't invited to the party. That's
Right.
why he's being
that-
naughty. He was sad. I think. I'm pretty sure that
I
was
guess.
the
I guess. The point I'm making is there's no reason why it had to be as violent as it did. It's just like you got some Brits who were just like, this would be funny, and then off they went.
At the same token, look at something like Conker's Bad Fur Day, right? I don't think you can go farther than that. And Naughty Bear has a 12 plus rating, which tells me it was rated T for teen.
It is rated T for teen.
So
Check
it
it.
wasn't
It is rated T
rated T for ESRB.
Yep.
My point is, it can't be that bad. Yeah, what's all right. Wet has a certain something about it that's good, even though I see every flaw and it ends with a cliffhanger, which is always fun. But there's something about that game that I really like. I don't know what it is. I think it's because it's like a skate park third-person shooter. It's got like a combo system in there that's pretty good.
Where you go, folks. If you want me to understand what Wet's like, send me a copy to add to my collection, and I will play Wet.
We'll play Wet.
And I'll get on the ball.
Shrek
And-
Super Slam should come first.
Oh my god!
But-
so
You know.
I have something funny about to say about that because with G1 Game Days, which we're doing that with for Extra Life here soon.
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't know if it's Super Slam. I'm gonna ask, but everybody keeps saying Tom is gonna play Shrek.
Might be the Xbox one.
If
Or-
it's
or just the
if it's
exclusive.
Super Slam though,
Yeah. That'd be good.
oh my!
I don't know. There's so much Shrek you can work with. I can't decide it. Like, shoot, that's the one with the esports scene behind it, which I think is fascinating. But, you know, the Todd McFarlane Shrek game has some qualities to it. And then
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, the original Shrek game had artwork that was done by Todd McFarlane, and he designed some of the characters within that game. The reason was the movie was not done yet, so they handed it off to a studio that knew nothing about Shrek, and they just made something, and Todd McFarlane had his hand on it.
Before we officially get started here, Post says, I really like Rage. Have ever play it?
You know, I didn't like Rage. I'm sorry.
Can't say I played it.
I might more now, but at the time I remember the ending really made me mad, and it was so focused on the car combat that I couldn't enjoy it as much. That was the last id game before Doom. It was
okay.
Rage, and it was built up for years and years and years, and it came out, and it was pretty as hell. It had the mega textures, but I didn't like it, unfortunately. But that's just my taste. I mean, I'm not like in a crusade against Rage. The Breaking Bad cameo was amazing. I don't know if you saw that. In Breaking Bad, even though it's a first-person
No, I had
shooter,
no idea.
Jesse plays Rage with a light gun.
Really?
It's one of those, man, the TV does not understand how games work.
And isn't that funny because Aaron Paul is a gamer? He
Yeah,
even was in the Xbox commercials.
I honestly think it's a joke at this point. When like
Could
movies
be.
and TV show, like they know, and they're just messing with you. I forget what movie it was. I want to say it was Charlie's Angel, but the one that bothered me the most is when there's like a group of kids playing multiplayer, and it's Final Fantasy IX, and they're all like they're treating it like an action game. Yeah,
Wet and Rage need sequels.
I agree for one of the two. If you want a sequel to Rage, I recommend Fallout 4. It's not good,
Oh no.
but it's similar in terms of tone.
Oh no, I want nothing to do with that.
Bethesda owns both, so
Okay. Well,
yeah.
okay, well there's a reason why Poe's here and we're here and everybody's here. So let's go ahead. We'll get started with this.
Sure.
You know how this goes.
No.
We missed last week because of reasons. We'll leave it at that. So this week, this episode of the Reset Button is going to be for October 13th, 2017.
Friday the 13th
Oh no!
in October. That can't be
Oh
good.
no!
Oh no.
I hear the people are going to be playing a video game tomorrow called Friday the 13th.
Now-
On Friday the 13th.
I have to say oh no to that because no one is playing that game. The only game that's doing worse than that is Lawbreakers. So, unfortunately.
Like, I want to be hyped for Friday the 13th because it's got to be better than the NES game, but every time I look at it and I watch people play it, because the G1 Game Days guys are going to be playing it, that's fine, great, I'm glad they are. But when I look at it, it looks like a low-budget piece of garbage.
I think it looks fun. I think it looks interesting design-wise. But with
You
that
always
said,
look at the aspect of like a game, something like that, and you're like, well, design-wise, this looks...
isn't that important for a game? It's like the thing that the game is. That's the game.
It's one of the aspects.
Design is the game.
You could say, okay, design-wise it does look interesting, but how does it actually function?
Oh, it looks like it doesn't function well at all. I'm just saying it has good ideas. I'm saying like you could make a Friday the 13th 2 out of it that could be great.
I don't know what happened when they had like the money, they had the support, they had the everything, and it just...
It sounds like the servers killed it. Like that was their big problem, right? It was also a Kickstarted game, which means that they didn't have real backing behind it. Because once you have, like, okay, so I've learned this with Kickstarter. This can be like one of our discussions, Kickstarter games, right?
Sure.
I noticed that a lot of the times people get really disappointed, and I don't think that's their fault. I think what tends to happen is that people do not budget properly. Reason is unfortunate reality of Kickstarter. The number that they ask for is not the number that they need, ever. They want you to go stretch goal. They need the stretch goals. Those are the numbers that will make the game possibly exist, and then maybe they can get a publisher. They usually don't intend for that. Because for them, publisher is just debt. And that's kind of how they end up looking at it. What I've learned is there are very specific genres that are incredible for Kickstarters. Specifically Western RPGs. Divinity, as you know, just got a sequel, and I got a Perfect 10 was a Kickstarted game. Undertale is
And we'll get to the
really
Perfect
good.
10s.
Spoilers. But my point is, you have that, but then you have these other type of games on the other side. They usually have a high name behind them, and they tend to fail. I'm noticing more failures than anything else. A lot of it's because they're building up a studio that didn't exist before that game. That's why I'm a little nervous about Shenmue, you know? Like, I want to be excited, but, like, everyone who worked on Shenmue, other than Yu Suzuki, is doing Yakuza.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't feel good about that. Famous one being Mighty Number 9, which was the platformer.
Yeah. And I just... my train of thought...
I lost it.
Yeah, my train of thought just went down the road. So, Poe's going to help us out here. Mighty Number 9 specifically, that was... it was a studio...
It was Indie Creates is what confuses me, though. Because they're a real studio, but they were given, like, guidelines by... what's the name of the actual... Concept?
Concept USA.
Yeah, that... I'm assuming they butchered it, because I know they're capable of more, because they also made the Gunvolt series, and Gunvolt is an actively good Mega Man clone. So I don't understand how they can make that as well made as that is, and then they do the real thing, and it fails.
So Concept does kind of fit in that area because they were trying to build themselves and become something. Mighty Number 9 was supposed to be the flagship thing that shot them off to the stars, but that was an issue. You could also talk about Playtonic when you're talking about that. Because Playtonic did not exist before Yooka-Laylee. So a lot of people...
Hat in Time just came out. And I'm hearing it as the game that everyone wanted that one to be. And I'm really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, it's only on PC right now, so I can't get it until it's on console. But
well,
it looks like the Banjo-Kazooie-like platform I've been waiting for.
And that's another thing. So you have somebody who does something like Hat in Time.
Yep.
And these, I would assume, are younger devs. They don't have that kind of background. They don't have that reputation. And they did something that people really wanted them to do. Now, take everybody over at Playtonic. Now, the thing with them is they were all previously devs who worked on Banjo-Kazooie. They worked on those games. it's almost to the point where they're like frozen in time.
Yeah.
Because, they create the studio and they're like, well, we want to make something like that. We want to make Yooka-Laylee. And people say, okay, great. We want it to be like Banjo-Kazooie.
But see, I can't fully get on board with that as a rule because of Divinity. Because Divinity Original Sin 1 is a sequel to the Divinity series that nobody really got into. Divine Divinity was a Diablo clone that nobody played. Divinity 2 was a full RPG on a console that nobody liked. And then for some reason Original Sin comes out, and it's not perfect, but it is far better and gets 8 out of 10s, and people like it. Now the new one's one of the best games of the year. Possibly, arguably going to win an award for Game of the Year someday.
Okay, fine, but is that the rule or is that the exception?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
I think it's the exception.
I'm trying to formulate it, because I feel like we're not... sometimes I'm blown away by indie-funded things. Wasteland was a bunch of old people coming back after saying we want to do the Western art, something about RPGs. It almost always works, but they came back after years and years and years. Wasteland is old Fallout. That is what it was before Fallout came out. Wasteland 2 was not a disappointment. It really lived up, and now 3 is coming out. They also did the new Torment, which got overshadowed, but it was still a solid game.
Right. I even remember doing press releases for Wasteland 2.
Yeah.
I remember doing that when I was still working at Screw Attack. So, yeah, there's...
And then you got Obsidian. I mean, I keep going to RPGs, but they just seem to be the success story. They did,
which is perfectly fine. You're going to have those things.
What is it?
And that's
Something
why I
of
say...
Eternity? Planes of Eternity? What is it?
Something. I'm not sure. But that's why I say you're going to have exceptions to this rule. But I think the rule for the most part is if you get someone who originally created this stuff and they want to come back and do it again, and the fans say specifically, we liked your work when you did this, they're going to freeze in time, right then and there. Now, I have an interesting question for you when I'm talking about that and saying it's a rule. Igarashi, is he going to fall into that?
Here's what scares me about it. Inti Creates is making that game. It's getting delayed. One thing I got to say right off the bat that gives me more confidence than the other guy is that he flat out said he's getting a publisher. He said that from the pitch.
Yes, he did.
That he was getting a publisher, and thank God he did, because what that tells me is that he has actual business sense. He has a strategy for money. What worries me, Pillars of Eternity was the game.
Yep, there you go. Thank you.
I wish I had come up with that. Pillars of Eternity 2 coming out. Here's my worry, and I guess compliment too, but so every game is Castlevania Metroid now. All of them. Every indie game seems. And I'm okay with that trend. I fucking love it. How is he going to separate from his own work? Is he going to just do more? Now, what I've seen of this game does not look like a Castlevania clone to me. It looks like a Metroidvania for sure, but just art style wise, I got a very different vibe from it. So I'm optimistic in that sense, but I'm also reserved. I'm now at the point where I will rarely kickstart a game if I don't have proof that you've kickstarted properly at least once. The scariest example, a man I once loved, now I hate more than ever, even though cautious for this game. It is scary. I live in a world where I gave no money to Psychonauts 2. I love Psychonauts. That's one of my favorite games. If I have a top 10, that's like at least 4 or 5. That's
I knew you were going with Tim Schafer.
I hate him.
Yeah.
I hate everything about him, and his Kickstarter is a good chunk of that reason. It's not the only reason, but you want to talk about a fall from grace from me. I called the man a god at one point.
And he ruined it.
He ruined it.
Yeah.
And he made too many decisions that were just undefendable. And now Psychonauts 2 on his own platform that he created to fund Psychonauts 2, Fig, which has other games coming to it as well. But I can't ignore that you made a website so you wouldn't have to have any responsibility if something went wrong after a previous incident where you didn't finish your game. I'm so worried about this game, and I don't want to be.
I think you have every right to be worried. I know that I've never had a spat with him on Twitter or anything like that because I don't think it's worth it, but I would like to say that I was one of the first people doing media that called Broken Age Broken Promise, because that's what it was.
Which part did you finish it?
I've never played it.
Let me tell you something.
I don't
about
see a
Broken
need
Age.
to.
Let me tell you something about Broken Age. I gotta
Okay.
get this off my chest.
Go for it.
Broken Age Part 1 was a fantastic game that lived up to all of my expectations.
Okay.
It was exactly what I wanted.
You're going to say part 2 is the opposite, right?
Part 2's worse than
Mm-hmm.
the opposite. Part 2 is someone else made that game.
Right.
The writing literally didn't match. Like, okay, here's an example. The twist of Part 1 did not only not affect things for Part 2, but the actual plot from Part 1 was retconned in Part 2, which is a very weird experience if you just play it today. Spoilers for Broken Age. Trust me, don't play it if you haven't. But anyway, so here's one of the most interesting premises that I really liked from Part 1, right? Mm-hmm. One of the characters is stuck on a spaceship because his mother put him there. And he's basically controlled by an AI. An AI is taking care of him and treating him like a child because it can't understand that he ages. Because it's an AI, it's a computer, it just can't figure that out. So he's being babied constantly by this AI, and he's being driven insane. He even wants to kill himself at one point. One of the puzzles involves a suicide attempt. You know.
Wow.
It's great.
Anyway.
Part 2, it turns out that the mother was on the ship the whole time. There was no AI. And he seems really okay about this whole scenario, which makes me ask, so what's the deal with the whole babying thing?
Hey, what's going on, Miguel?
What's up?
So,
Man, Broken Age let me down in every possible way.
Broken Promise let you down in every way. And it wasn't even before that. Okay, all the things that he said was going to happen beforehand, one by one, things started falling apart. And I think the thing that really broke it for me and made me say, somebody needs to take this guy down a notch, is when he said, it's going to be split into 2 parts, and then started acting like if you have an issue with it, this is your problem. You're the issue here, not me.
I was still kissing his ass by this point,
Oh,
so
no,
I defended
was
the decision. I looked
shame
at
on
it.
you.
I looked at it as an episodic model.
Horrible. You should
Hey,
have done that.
If here was my priority, right? If the game was as good as I hoped it would be, it was fine. And Part 1 really lived up to my expectations. Like, I cannot understate how good Part 1 was. With that said, not only did he fail on those expectations, but he also didn't make enough in-game assets for me to wonder what the fuck the wait was for.
Oh my god.
Like, you have to remember as well, it was the first major Kickstarter game. So there was a lot of leeway I was willing to give.
Okay.
Because there was a learning process with it, and there was also a full-time documentary where we saw the aspect of making this game. Which, by the way, stopped halfway through. That was great. Like, for Part 2, it just stopped because he's like, I'm going to repeat the same things. So, yeah, good job.
Yeah, so, well, there's a reason why it stopped, because they stopped developing the game.
They waited for money that came
They
in
waited
late.
for money. And then, like, he lied and said this was the intention, this is the way, it has to be. That's not what you said at the beginning.
It's nothing compared to the controversy of Moonbase Alpha, which I didn't put any money to, but just from a distance. I didn't even care about the game. It was a game that was funded, early access. They just dropped it. They said, hey, we're not going to finish it.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you.
That's been an ongoing issue that Tanner and I have talked about, like, repeatedly when it comes down to something like that. You've got these games where they stay in early access and they never get finished and they just get dropped. Or they just stay in early access, and that's because it gives the creator time to do whatever they feel like doing, including sitting there and doing nothing.
I don't know where the line is, though, because I feel like as bad as those situations are, I've seen equally successes beyond wildest imagination. I've seen, like, developers that would not have that money be able to make beautiful, amazing things. I always, like, okay, fandom aside, Undertale, right? Mm-hmm. I really love that game. It's a great game. It made 20,000, really modest low money, but it made that game. Fucking, I love that.
And it's exploded.
It exploded.
Yeah.
Now, the point is that game probably wouldn't exist without the funding.
No, I wouldn't say probably, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't exist.
No.
And I feel like that's the case for a lot of Kickstarter projects. But I don't know where those are, like what I'm supposed to trust unless I have proof. And sometimes that hurts. Sweary65, the guy who made Deadly Premonition, love that game, has a Kickstarter today that you can go to. I ain't putting a cent because I don't know how reliable that is. Because he has to make a new studio. He did not finish the last project that he was on. And I'm just skeptical now.
To me, that's instant disqualification.
Sure.
There's
a million reasons why, but that's my brain.
I can't get past that. If you do something like that, like you promise that you're going to do this, and you ask people for the money, and you don't deliver.
No. He didn't use Kickstarter for that. That was a Microsoft product.
That was a Microsoft product. Okay.
This is a different situation.
Okay.
This is the
clarification is good.
This is the first time he's ever asked for public money.
Well, then that still can pose a question.
That's why I'm saying.
That could still pose a question. Should you trust the person that doesn't want to finish their projects?
A lot of me says it's not his fault because that's technically true. Microsoft had him make an episodic game, and then 2 episodes came out and they gave it 0 advertising and nobody knew it existed, so no one bought it, and then therefore they couldn't get the money to finish it. Which is not necessarily his fault, but I don't know where that line is.
I don't either.
And as a backer, it's not a pre-order, it's a pre-promise. Yeah. And I don't know. But at the same time, I want to support things that are great. If I went back in time and he said Shovel Knight, you should put some money to Shovel Knight. Yeah, it deserved it.
I would have put money into Shovel Knight, but I don't know. I just looked at that, and full disclosure, I have never backed anything on Kickstarter. It is. I have never backed anything. Not one thing have I backed on Kickstarter.
You old man.
And that includes SGC back in the day. Didn't back that either.
Oh, even I backed that, and I didn't even go.
Nope, didn't even back that. I backed nothing. 0. So it takes a lot for me to have faith in a Kickstarter project, simply because I didn't have faith in any of them. I didn't have faith in Shovel Knight. I admit I'm wrong now.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get there and say, should I do that?
You know what was really nice? I backed one that made me really happy when it came out.
Yes, Kickstarter is basically Russian roulette. I like it.
It is.
Good job, Poe.
But, I backed Shantae, which came out not that long ago. In fact, I got a Switch version waiting on me. I don't know when I get to play it. I have to get a Switch first. But I have it, and it's waiting on me, and I'm excited to play it. But I've heard that game lived up, so I'm not too worried about it.
Shantae games are usually great.
Well, that was my justification. My brain is, they've made 3 games in a row that are all fantastic. And this 4th one, they want the extra money because they want HD assets. And that just sounded like fair. That sounded really fair. I was fine giving it my money. And so far, it seems like it works out.
So we often do the podcast lab, and we have people who talk in chat about the subjects that we're bringing up. So we'll shoot over that really quick. Poe, we already read that part. So Kickstarter is basically Russian roulette with 5 bullets. Can't disagree with that, because you never know what you're going to get.
It's as many bullets as dollars that you spend per game. So I'm not going to give that. Someone spent $1,000 on Mighty Number 9.
Oh, my God. Oh, I feel bad for that person.
And Yooka-Laylee got a ton of money from JonTron to put his voice in there, and now that's not there.
And Jing411, also known as Miguel, he said, "Yep, I've accepted that the game I backed on Kickstarter isn't happening."
I'm dying to know
what game
which
is that.
Game.
Yeah.
But you can answer on your own time. Fun fact, JonTron is in Hat in Time.
Is he?
That's awkward.
Yes.
That's an awkward situation.
Yes, it is. Well, okay. I can understand why, because at the time, I'm sure when he did the voiceovers for everything there, he did voiceovers for other games, because he's kind of a big deal. I admit that. He's also kind of a terrible person.
I don't know where the winning formula is.
I don't either.
If you go the Yooka-Laylee route and just throw him under the bus, unfortunately, you're going to lose a lot of your marketing. What's the game?
It was called Lobo Destroyo.
Never heard of it. Sold.
Nor have I.
I'm going to spend $20. Oh, I got the oldest one imaginable, Barkley 2. That was so early in Kickstarter, and they're still working on it. I still get updates that game exists. Are you familiar with Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden?
Yes.
It's the sequel.
Yes, I am.
It's one of the earliest Kickstarters I ever... I know a friend of ours, Trevor, fucking says he will not give another game money on Kickstarter until he gets that game. And it's worse because they keep holding that game in front of us.
Oh my, that's so nuts. And then, 1 second, guys.
Wake me up at 10. Come on, ass puppy.
We get visits all over the place.
If it makes you feel better, audience, no. We're going to move soon. We're working on it.
Yeah. I wouldn't want my voice in ukulele anyway, is what Poe said.
Yeah, but in Hat in Time? I mean, he
I
got
would
the better
love
end of
my
the
voice.
stick.
I would love my voice to be in ukulele.
I
don't-
wouldn't.
Oh, come on.
Ukulele?
Okay, so it's a bad game. Who cares?
I want my name in I want my voice in a decent game.
I gotta get into a bad game first. I have to build up.
You don't have to build up. Just do something you like. I can't. I don't want to be a part of something I don't
Okay,
enjoy.
fair enough. Ed Boon, I need to be in Mortal Kombat 11.
There you go.
So make it happen, or I'm going to send you hate mail. Okay? Okay. See? It was that simple.
I don't think he listened. I think you're going to have to spam him with text messages.
Oh, no. On Twitter?
Yeah.
In all caps?
In public, so everyone can join in, and then you can create harassment, which is what you have to do.
He better have my sauce. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, no.
Let's see. Miguel says A Hat in Time is an average game. Ukulele is an okay game.
Here's my problem with ukulele, right? I for the record, I have to say something. I love Banjo-Kazooie, but I think Banjo-Tooie is terrible. I do not like it. Have you played Banjo-Tooie and Kazooie?
Yeah, I have Chewy right up there.
What do you think about Tooie?
More of the same.
I disagree. The levels are far too big. There's backtracking that goes stage from stage.
I
which
didn't say
can't
they were the
stand.
same quality. I said more of the same.
I don't even think it's more of the same. I think it's far lesser in every regard. There's less collectibles per level, even though the levels get bigger. You ever notice that you collect the jiggies in either 20s or 5s?
Well, keep
the
in mind,
notes.
it's been a while since I played Tooie. No.
Tooie makes me mad. And here's the thing. While I don't like Tooie, it seems like Ukulele was a game designed to piss me off. I did like using Kazooie as a gun, but let me say this, though. Exploring in first person to find all the items while holding it in first person shooter mode is awful. The actual shooting is funny. The game is bad. And Donkey Kong 64 was worse. And it would have been great if they made like one change to it, but they didn't, so.
Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah. The worst Rare game. Other than like Microsoft stuff.
Oh,
I'm edgy. I think that's a universal opinion. I don't think that's that shocking.
I don't know. It's been so long since I played DK64, I couldn't tell you.
I'll tell you the thing that ruins that game, right?
Okay.
There are bananas. You have like 5 characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are bananas of different colors that you can only pick up with certain monkeys. And you have to go back to a warp pad to be able to change monkey.
That already annoys me.
So you have to play every stage 5 times in a row.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Yep.
Okay, I can see that. Stupid bananas, Poe
Exactly.
says. And there you go. That's pretty universal, it seems.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Monkey's lacking a certain type of headwear with his opinions. Oh! Man,
No comment.
That's brutal.
I'm
Man.
just edgy. What can I say?
Man, you should start a YouTube channel with all that edge.
I know. I'll call it Leafy Was There. And I think it would be pretty good. And I would just bully video games on the internet. I'd be like a angrier Nintendo nerd. I would be kind of irate.
No, Miguel says that he loves both of us. Well, we love you.
Love you, buddy.
Show up more often.
Even though I'm a bad person. And we established it. But,
So let's get to the topic we were actually going to bring up
hey.
before we did the whole thing that we always like. We like to call it organic topics.
I like having a backup and then just see where we go.
Yeah.
And we had it. So what's our topic today, sir?
Our topic today is perfect tens and how we feel about them.
Okay.
So what that means is, there's plenty of games out there that often get perfect 10s when they're reviewed. And a perfect 10 is different for every person. There's no way to measure a perfect 10. You don't get out the measuring tape and put it to a game and say, yep, it's a 10. So what does a perfect 10 mean to each individual person? What does that say to you when you're playing a game and someone tells you, that game's a perfect
I
10?
remember when IGN for like 3 years gave 10s constantly. It would be like, hey, Skyward Sword, 10. Uncharted 3. Yeah, it's a 10. The lesser Uncharted game. Well, we gave Uncharted 2 a 10. So therefore we have to give this a 10, even though it's more of it. And it just seemed like 10s were just givens at that point.
Well, let's not dive into it too quickly. So
Oh.
let's slow it down here.
Oh.
So in terms of it, Perfect 10.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Perfect 10 for me. And you can debate this because I think it's individual.
It
But
is
for
individual.
me, I consider it a landmark game.
Okay.
A 10, I give them out more than I think most people do. But
Okay.
I think of a 10 as a game that you can go back to and think about 30 years later and say, man, that was a good fucking game. I'm nostalgic to that game. I want to go back. It defined the genre for that time. It might have something that made it incredibly unique and special.
Yeah.
That you could never recapture the same way. That's a 10 to me. Doesn't mean it's perfect. You can
Okay.
have glitches. You don't even have to be very pretty. But if you got that and you have this historical importance, I think that's the most important aspect.
Okay. So I share some of those. But in other ways, I do think it doesn't have to be perfect because I don't think you're going to get perfection. But it has to be going that direction. Like, as perfect as you could possibly get something like that. It has to have that aspect. It also, to me, it has to set the bar. Like, in terms of that genre, what you have, what it can do, it has to be that trendsetter, is what I think. And I know you're looking that way and you're like, I don't think so. I know you're viewing that.
That wasn't that laugh. That wasn't that
Okay.
smile.
Okay.
That was something different.
Okay, I was just like, oh, you're giving me the look.
I was giving you a look, but it had nothing to do
Okay,
with what
fair
you were
enough.
saying.
Fair enough, because I didn't really think about Perfect 10s because I've seen them in magazines or wherever, and I was just like, okay, whatever, Perfect 10, gotcha. But I really started thinking about that. I started thinking about that heavily when they gave GTA 4 a Perfect 10.
At the time, that felt right. That's what's messed
It
up.
never felt right to me.
To me, it really did. It was such a big game, and it had so many things that were evolutions at the time. But here's an aspect that I think you can't score that easily. How does it age? What
Right.
does time reflect on it? I think we're so quick to call things masterpieces, and we never really know until months, maybe years down the line. I remember when I saw a 10 for Final Fantasy 13 because it was super pretty and it played well. Everyone hates Skyward Sword's the most famous example, right? I think most Zelda fans don't even like that game that much. I think it is a lesser. I haven't even played it. So this isn't even my opinion. I'm just saying it seems like the consensus on Skyward Sword is that it is a massive disappointment. And that's why the new one that came out is a 10 because it reinvented it for the better. Even though now I'm hearing negativity about the new one after months later when people are realizing, well, it had this aspect really down, but it doesn't have some of the core that Zelda means to me. It doesn't have enough story. It doesn't have enough towns. It doesn't have enough of that Zelda thing that works for me. So now I'm hearing a little lesser on it.
Right.
So I don't know.
So, okay, well, there's one of the things I was talking about. One of the reasons why when I thought about GTA 4, because I thought, like, combat-wise, driving-wise, different things like that, they've done better in the past. So to hear it get, like, the perfect 10 that quickly, I was like, wait a second, hold on. I felt the same way after I played Zelda, the new Zelda. Mm-hmm. Because beforehand, I hadn't played it. I saw the reviews and thought, well, this is going to blow my mind. And I own it. I've been playing it. I like it a lot. But my mind isn't blown. It's not. Because the very reasons you were talking about. Yes, it gives you this incredible open world. For the first time, it's truly open. You can do what you want. It's done right. For the first time is what I could argue. Mm-hmm. And you've argued it before too. So that's great. But the story is horrible. Dungeons are horrible. There's a lot of horrible going on here.
There are no dungeons. It's got I don't count the beasts as dungeons because it's a small area and
They're
I like
supposed to
them.
be dungeons.
They're puzzle boxes. And that's neat. It's not a good replacement.
No.
But here's my question. What score would you give it? And I think it matters to this conversation because here's the shocking thing, Patrick. I think less of it, I'd give it a 10. I'd give it a 10 because of what it did. And in some ways, I think that's more important for me when I'm looking at it. as a ranking of a game,
Okay.
if I'm ranking it within the series,
Sure.
I'm not going to put it as high
Okay.
as something like Majora's Mask, which has terrible dungeons, but I love that game.
Oh, chat's like going to town with this, man.
I know. But
I
then,
love it.
like, Wind Waker is also, like, such a damn good game. I think I love Zelda to death, where, honestly, it's probably on the lower end, the new one. But I'd still give it a 10, because I don't think there's been ever a game that figured out how to do the open world environment right. And it seems like this past, I don't know, decade has just been game developers trying to figure out what open world meant, and all of them get them wrong.
Fair
until now.
Fair enough.
And yet I've never felt weaker about a 10 that I'm going to give a 10. But that's how I feel about it.
And that's what we're talking about. So there's nothing wrong with the fact that you want to give it a 10. I personally don't think I would. I would give it a very high score. Very high, like a 9. I think those little things I mentioned are the ones that drag it down. Now, like, for example, shooting back over to chat really quick, because Miguel mentioned with Breath of the Wild, I can't go to any open world games anymore.
I couldn't agree more.
Basically, Breath of the Wild has spoiled him so much that he can't go back to other open world games. It's over.
Fun fact, I rented Horizon. I had to put it down immediately. I was so uninterested. The open world bored me to tears because it wasn't really open. It was that fake half Assassin's Creed style open. Doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel
Right.
like it's mine to look at and explore. Just pretty. You
And
know.
he hit some of this too. Miguel mentioned, like, the restrictions in open world games give you the feel where it's contrived and it makes it hard to play.
Yeah.
Like, you feel that you could go do XYZ, but you find out, no, you really can't.
Even worse, and I like this game a lot. Final Fantasy 15 has kind of the different problem, which is we have to justify the whole map. So we're going to make a bunch of terrible side quests that exist purely so you look at more of the map. So you can just say, oh, this isn't wasted space. We'll put a dog tag here. Go. And I feel like that might be the most boring way to handle an open world, to the point where I'd rather get a linear game. Or at least that's what I thought. And then Zelda kind of proved I don't necessarily want linear if you can do open world as wonderfully as that game. Which is why I cannot wait for Mario, which is going to get it right.
Oh yeah.
Better.
I could agree with that. Now I'm going to reel you back a little bit again.
Yeah.
So, think of all the perfect 10s in the past decade, if not longer. Which ones can you justify? Which ones can you not?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to say there's a year that I'm just going to say is a perfect 10 because it seems like every fucking great game came out around the same time. Something about 97, 98, specifically 98, is insane when you look about the games that came out. I mean, we had genre definers that, like, okay, Metal Gear Solid, Half-Life,
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time,
Those are the ones.
StarCraft, Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, those are the ones I was talking about where I would personally justify and say that those deserve the perfect 10s because, like I said, the ones that set the bar and say this is what this genre should be like, and they're so wonderfully crafted, all of those games hit it.
That list could go for hours, I think, if I had the list in front of me. But, like, there's something about those years. And I think my guess on it is it was also the time we had figured out 3D. I think that was the time 3D game development made sense. So you had 10s because it was finally understanding a time. Which is why not all those games aged perfectly gracefully. Right? I cannot play Baldur's Gate today. Just can't. I have tried on multiple occasions. And I like a good Western RPG. I cannot play Baldur's Gate. I'd love to. It's not going to happen. Half-Life 1 holds up all right, but it's not nearly as good as Half-Life 2, which is perfect eternally. You can play Half-Life 2 today. You don't lose a thing of quality from that game. But they're both 10s.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's how numbers work.
I can't disagree with that simply because, like I mentioned earlier, from my perfect 10, they have to, with what they can have, what they have at the time. You can't say, well, the graphics were bad now. That's ridiculous. I'm talking about what they had to work with at the time. Is this, the best quality you can get in all aspects? Does it work the way it should, not be littered with bugs? Does it set the bar?
How do you feel about...
Those two do.
How do you feel about this? Mario 64. Because I'm going to argue that has more problems than any other 10 that I know of, but nobody doesn't give that game a 10. There's a million mistakes in terms of not only design, playability, a lot of issues with that game, but that's a 10. And I'll be damned if you say otherwise. But how do you feel about that? The worst possible 10.
That's a tough one because it meets all my criteria for a 10, but it's got some of the things that want me to draw it back. Like you said, it's got the bugs and everything. But here's how I would say it with my personal experience. I know there are bugs. Speedrunners have found all sorts of different things you can do, different things like that, but that didn't affect me when I was playing it.
Mm-hmm.
None of what you mentioned affected me. So I would give it a 10 basically because I didn't experience any of that. I experienced a wonderful game.
Huh. I just think it's interesting because it's hard to analyze something like that. I don't know if the 10 is even analyzable. It's so personal of a decision. There are the games I really dispute. I'm going to pick on Uncharted for a minute. It's not that they're not great games. I think Naughty Dog makes fantastic games, but they all are so heavily scripted that I kind of feel like, really? They don't feel like they're taking credit from the medium. It just kind of feels like I'm watching something play out while I have a controller in my hand.
Cutscene mania?
It's not cutscenes, it's interactive cutscenes. We're scripting it. It's the way to trick you. There was a word that someone said that ruined all Naughty Dog games for me. And it was called jump scare. Every time you play Uncharted and the guy falls after climbing and then he catches himself, it's a jump scare. Anytime you're at a set piece and anything like out of your hands happens, it's just supposed to get your adrenaline pumping by being out of your control. And you're like, ah!
Yeah.
And once I heard that, man, I hate Uncharted. I still like the characters, but man, like, I can't play those games again. I feel like I've seen the man behind the curtain. I know what it is. And, it hurts me. And then you look at Last of Us, just going to pick on Naughty Dog. The writing is great. I would argue that Walking Dead did a lot of its ideas first. I mean, even the video game did a lot of those ideas first.
Okay.
And man, how do you feel about crafting systems? I want to kill myself every time I see a crafting system in a third-person action game. Especially one that's trying to take itself so seriously, but you're still over... How the fuck do you play a 14-year-old girl and you're overpowered? That's the only game I know in the world that does that. And wants me to take it literally, seriously. And I don't mean overpowered as in, oh, she's smarter. I mean, she gets on their back, stabs them. There's other dudes that are seeing this happen, and no one can seem to stop her. What? Ludonarrative dissonance is insane, son.
Well, you'll have that. That's why with
I say
like The Last of Us, for example, I know that was perfect 10 bait too. I don't know if anybody gave it a perfect 10. I couldn't tell you, but I know it was perfect 10 bait because there were a lot of people saying, "Yeah, it should have it. It should have it."
I've heard it's the greatest game of all time, and I'm like, how? I get the story's good. I'm not knocking the narrative.
I'm not knocking the narrative either. I'm talking about the gameplay. I play this thing and I'm like, wow, there's some problems here. I'm not too
First time
too
I was
keen on
playing it, I remember it was near the end and I was like, man, I just want to get past the gameplay so I could just see what happens. I was not scared anymore. I was bored. And I was just like, I just want to get to the ending. And like Toy Story 3, I'm going to be that guy. The ending was good enough to trick you into thinking it's one of the greatest things of all time when the rest of it didn't match the ending's quality at all. Bam!
Oh, man.
And Toy Story 3 has the best ending out of Toy Story, but everything else about it's a terrible movie.
Here's another controversial one I just thought of. Now, it may not be
How
controversial
dare
for
you.
everyone. I know I'm horrible. But one that I think absolutely deserves the perfect 10. And
Deserves.
yeah, deserves. And there's a lot of people that are like, I think
I feel like you also got to shit on a 10. I don't want to be the only bad guy here.
So I'm going to argue that it deserves one, and I don't think it ever got it, was Metal Gear Solid 2.
I saw a 10. I'm pretty
Did
sure
you?
Game Informer gave it a 10.
Good.
And I know it
It
got some
should.
Game of the Year. Look, that reputation was weird at the time because
Most-
people didn't know what to make of it.
Most people don't give it a 10 anymore or even consider it that because they say, well, Metal Gear Solid 3 was better, so...
As a game and as a story, 3 is better, but as writing, 2 is one of the most interesting things ever made.
Absolutely.
And I've over the years I've gone from my least favorite Metal Gear to it's tied with 3, man. I think I cannot choose anything over 3.
I really think the writing in 2 challenges you to think much harder than 3 did. Simply because of what was going on and everything you had to analyze. Every single time in that game, you thought you had the answers. They changed it on you.
At the same time, I think most of us didn't know what it was saying or doing. Like, that is something you can only understand 15 years later and go,
Yeah.
oh, that's what he was okay, I follow now. It took me 15 years to get it. And now that I live it, I fucking get it. Metal Gear Solid 3, though, has one of the most emotional endings in video game history.
Right.
That is, I mean, I think it's better than Last of Us is. But, I just like picking on that game. But seriously, like, Metal Gear Solid 3 is just an entire... Every moment of that game is memorable. And I cannot say the same for 2. Even though 2, you might have better takeaways from it when you walk away.
See, that's the thing, and that's why that's so personal for me, because I argue everything that happened in 2 was perfect for me. I can pretty much recite, piece by piece, how that game went down.
How'd you feel about the swimming scene? When you're taking a woman who pretended that she can't swim by the hand, and then you would just have long monologues about how she was afraid of the water.
I know that's
I'm just
that's
pointing
weird.
out, you may not
I know
remember
that's
everything. here.
I do remember that. I know it's weird and interesting, but it actually is pushing for the narrative that Otacon's saying she's weak, she needs help, I've let her down, and then you get that.
How do you
get
feel
those
about
different things.
How do you feel about Fat Man? Laugh and grow fat.
I loved him as a boss.
I know, he's great.
He
But
was
his
just like so
backstory-
stupid.
His backstory's not good.
His backstory was a little rushed. I think in terms of like everybody that was part of that unit, it's very clear that he got the least love when they
Yeah.
were writing it.
Vamp was obviously one of the best.
Oh, Vamp, of course. You
No.
could see which one was the superstar in that group.
Yeah, and he's back in 4. If you ever decide to play 4, he returns, and they use him well. You really should play Metal Gear Solid 4. He has not played 4.
I am not. I have played some of 4. I haven't finished 4.
4 is great.
I have it like right over there. So
I'm not saying it's perfect, but compared to 5, it's a fucking 10.
there you go.
Also, I saw a lot of 10s for 4. That's a game that fucking, like, I don't know. Part of me wants to say yeah, and part of me wants to say no, and I don't know where I stand by. 4 has some of the best stuff, but it also has some of the worst, and I can't decide where I live on it. Like,
I can't form an opinion yet. I played so little of it that.
I'll tell you why I can't
Even-
fully commit to the 10.
Okay, go ahead.
This won't make sense for you. Act 3 is so not fun to play. It is miserable. It is a stealth section that if they spot you, you have to restart. And it is one of the worst things. It had so many cringe moments, as you say in the chat. So many dumb moments. But yet, when I walk away from 4, I feel a real nostalgia and a real, like, if they did one thing, they ended it perfectly. It is a perfect conclusion. Is it a perfect game? Fuck no. But it is a perfect conclusion. And that's rare. I don't know many series that get that. I especially like ones that are that complicated. I can't think of any series that gets an ending that feel right.
Act 3 has such an amazing map, and they used it so horribly. It's mostly foggy than the rest, and it's a rail shooter.
It becomes one, yeah.
Oh no!
To be fair, when it does, it's a great moment. It's stupid as hell.
That
but
is a
it's
Peter Molyneux
awesome.
moment.
The only thing I think's truly bad about 4 was that the bosses were terrible, and I think everyone's kind of agreed. Not necessarily mechanically, but narratively, there was nothing. I can spoil this for you. I don't feel bad about it. When they die, the one guy will just tell you their past. You don't get any interaction with them. They're just there, you fight them, and then they die and you move on.
Wow.
Now, the reason, I think, is one, Konami had a mandate where you have to have sexy ladies in your game.
Oh,
Because I just think that's a thing. And
of
two,
course, that's very important.
and two, I think it would have been dumb to add too many new characters because it's about closing off all the chapters rather than
Yeah.
opening any.
yeah, it
so-
was trying to wrap everything up and end it.
And damn, it does that well. If there's one thing I gotta give that shit credit for, it does that well. It's a 10 for that. But it's not a 10 for any other reason.
Well, like I was saying, I even tried to form an opinion about it the other day, and you shut that shit down. So
Yeah.
I'd have to say that I need to experience more of that game before I can even form an opinion. But
Bring popcorn.
probably wouldn't be a 10. I don't think it would,
Oh,
but we'll see.
oh.
I can't tell you one way or the other, but I have my suspicions.
So hold on. What game have you played that got a 10 that you disagree with? Because I'm already the bad guy for
GTA
shitting on
4.
Naughty Dog. Oh, well, that's too easy. I gotta get a harder one out of you. Give me something that's like controversial here. Give me something that like is established. That I don't think BioShock Infinite got a 10.
Did it?
I don't think so. I like that game a lot, but I'm pretty confident it didn't get any 10s.
No, because if it did, I'll gladly dispute that. I don't think it deserves a 10.
I don't think it deserves 10s, but I still like it. I give it a solid 9.
I like it. I would play it again today, but I don't think it's worthy of a 10. So, I'm trying to think of different games that got 10s that I would dispute. Throw some names out.
I gotta look at the list.
The list. And then we're probably going to wrap this up after this because we're hitting the hour mark.
Okay, you keep talking. I'm looking up this list.
So we'll be hitting the hour mark. But hey, while we're doing all that, we'll swing back over to the chat, see what everybody else is saying here. Because, hey, it's a live show. And if you're listening to this post-recording, just keep in mind.
I don't get signal here.
You
This is
can-
all for nothing.
All for nothing. So you can always join us live. It's going to be at twitch.tv/resetpress. We do this every week. Come join us.
What about God of War 3?
God of War 3.
I saw 10s for that. I think God of War 2 is better. I really like 3 though, but that might be one you step on. Halo. Did Halo ever get 10s? I don't feel like it did.
Did any Halo games get a 10? I don't know, but here's the controversial thing I'll say. Since on here, I'm always talking about how much I love
4's
Halo.
your favorite.
I don't think any of them deserve a 10.
Wow.
I don't.
I'd give 1 to 3. Halo 3 feels like a 10.
I
to
would
me.
absolutely not give 3 a 10.
But I'm biased because I met almost everyone I know through that game. That Screw Attack was Halo 3 for a while. That was how everyone knew each other. You just played Halo. What about Batman Arkham City? Didn't that get 10s? That's gotta be one
Halo
to
2
shit
got
on.
a 10. It deserved it. Here's why I would say no, because when it comes down to it, when you're doing, when you're looking at the entire thing, most people would look at the online play, and that's where they would give it the 10. I think for the most part, the campaign for Halo 2 was good. It had a good story, everything like that, but I don't think it was 10 worthy. I don't think it really set the bar for a first-person shooter with a story and a narrative like that. It may have set the bar for online play. That I would not dispute at all. But for everything else, I don't think so.
Okay. 2 can play at this game. Half-Life 2 has the worst deathmatch in gaming. Therefore, Half-Life 2 is not a 10.
I wouldn't even consider it.
It's this. Well, that's my point. Like, if you're just gonna select and choose, I can take the whole package as well and throw Half-Life 2 and say, I guess it's not a 10, is it? Half-Life 2 is not a 10.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Patrick thinks the most important game of all time is not a 10.
I mean, if that's how you
That's
feel.
your controversial statement.
If that's how you feel.
No, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about your opinion of Half-Life 2. Not a 10.
I haven't played enough of it to really say that.
Wow. That's way more fascinating fucking
I haven't played enough to say that.
Holy shit, play Half-Life 2. Fuck the rest of the games. That's the one.
But-
That's a... How are you a gamer? That's so important. Yeah, but none of those are Half-Life 2. That's an important game. That's one that, like, even my mother has played. My grandmother has played.
I hear there's supposed to be a 3.
I haven't heard any rumors. You want to bring that wound back up and just salt me?
Let's see. Arkham City deserved it too. You were the goddamn Batman.
I think the combat's fucking great in that game, and there's a reason everyone's copying it.
Again, it's a really good game, but I'm not sure. And once again, I'm using my own personal scale. I'm not sure when you consider all aspects of the game. Did it really set the bar? Did it really make everybody say, wow, this is the trendsetter from now on?
I mean,
this
it was.
is it.
It was. Everyone's copying it.
No, I think when it comes down
You
to a
want to
combat
play
system,
Shadow of War?
when it comes down to a combat system like that, you can also argue that a lot of it came down to Assassin's Creed as well.
Oh, no. Assassin's Creed... Okay. Batman had a lot more flexibility in its combat, and everyone is now... That is the standard combat. I would say that game did for action games what Gears of War did for third-person shooting for a bit, where every game was a cover-based shooter.
Now,
every
that I
game-
can't dispute.
Yeah.
Because we've already discussed that,
Well,
and
I
it's
feel
true.
like it's the same with Batman. It seems like every single one has the mechanic of counter, punch, attack, counter, and you used enough of your thing. Now you can do the super move and kill one of them. I've seen that so many places. It's what Spider-Man's going to be too. Like, that seems to be the standard agreed upon combat.
So before we wrap this thing up, since we're talking about that here, all of this is going to be brutal. So you have to give one of the Arkham games a 10.
City.
City gets the 10
That was
automatically.
that was brutal.
Okay.
Really? I mean, Arkham Asylum is good, but City like capitalized on it. I feel like
I don't know. I liked Asylum more.
I can see it because it's got more of a Metroidvania style to it, but I feel like City capitalized on like every aspect and improved it. Like, other than the specific level design, it had the boss encounters were better. The Mr. Freeze fight might be one of the best bosses in gaming history.
Fair enough.
So, like, I don't know, City, just easy.
I liked the whole Metroidvania of the first one. I liked. I wouldn't say it's linear per se, because that's a bit absurd. There are some open world aspects to it, but it's a bit more linear. It doesn't try to trick you into saying, "Hey, we're open world," different things like that. That's why I choose that one. So there we
Asylum
go.
is more Metroid, and City is more Zelda, and I can kind of agree with that. City's open
think so.
world isn't necessarily the best, but because of its tone and because it was a Batman game, I thought it felt very appropriate. Like, that's important for that game. It has to reflect the comic, and it nailed it. But anyway,
Yeah.
is it a 10? I still don't think it's a 10, but I think it's up there.
Yeah.
And if someone gives it that, I'm not going to dispute it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you yourself personally had to give one of them a 10.
Shadow of Mordor was not a fucking 10. There's the one I'll pick on.
Oh, no.
Shadow of Mordor got, like, Game of the Year from Giant Bomb.
Really?
And I just think that was wrong.
Yeah, we're going to agree with that.
I don't remember what came out that year, but it was a wrong answer.
Yeah,
The Nemesis system's cool, but everything else about that game sucks.
It's a time waster.
It's just...
It's the ultimate time waster. You get on there and you don't have to have any discernible goal. You just run around like a jackass and just do whatever, because who cares? I certainly don't.
The
Do you?
Nemesis system was so fucking neat. I would love another game to do that. Unfortunately, we'll never get a sequel to Shadow of Mordor, and that's a shame. But if they did, I'd love to see the Nemesis system come back.
Shadow of Mordor is still Bayonetta 2's Game of the Year. It still upsets me.
See, I haven't played Bayonetta 2 yet, so that's my fault. Once it comes to Switch, I'll finally get a chance. But right now, it's a Wii U exclusive. I guess I could, like, when we do end up in the same place, I could just steal yours, couldn't I?
Exactly.
Shit. I guess
definitely
I'm
could.
running out of reasons to not play Bayonetta 2.
There you go. Running out of reasons, man.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up because, look, we are way past the hour mark at this point.
Yeah.
That's a lot of editing.
You're going to have some editing, especially with this episode.
Oh, yeah, that's a...
With what we've been going through.
that's going to be a lot of editing. But
Have fun, buddy.
I'm the editor. It's what I do. So,
And I'm lazy.
so again, that's going to be the reset button for October 13th, 2013. So play Friday the 13th if you want to, and remember, Parappa the Rapper, clearly a perfect 10.
No.
Have a good night.